What's up, everybody? Cinephile Mike is here, and I have the privilege to be chatting about the new movie On the End with writer-director Ari Selinger. Ari, how are you today?
I am doing just fine. I'm doing good. I'm happy.
So, talk to
You
me a
know,
little bit about how this film came to be and how your paths cross with Tom Ferreira.
I love talking about Tom. Well, it all started back when I went to film school in the city, and my folks live out here in Sag Harbor, and I found myself making short films that were increasingly further and further away from Union Square and Central Park. And I started wanting to use the landscapes of the North Fork and the South Fork. And so I started shooting films out here, and my first big film was called Deuce and a Quarter. And we drove out, me and my production designer drove out to Montauk, and we were looking for an auto repair shop that we could use for this short film about two buddies on a road trip in Alabama. And I met Tom, who is fixing a car, and we just asked him, know any place where we could shoot? And he said, yeah, why not my backyard? And that was how it started. This was back in 2011. I was 20 years old. And I was making a very kind of raising Arizona type movie and using his dangerous tools and carbs and parts and using that for production value. And while we were filming, other than him coming over asking if he could uh, be uh, be the stunt guy, he would come in and say, when you're done, make a documentary about what I'm going through with the town. And as a 20-year-old, I have to be honest, I was not interested in small town politics. In, uh, I was interested in, I was interested in places. Like I love Terrence Malick and I love the way Badlands looks and Days of Heaven. I was really into the way Montauk looked, but not so much town politics and making a legal drama uh, that honestly hadn't completely unfolded at the time. And then the years went by. I graduated from school. I always was friends with Tom. And then the other lead of the film, Freckles, I heard she got sick, and I came back into Tom's life and would visit him quite often. And I started kind of seeing a story between the two of them that I sort of fell in love with. I always loved them together. And then in 2016, a New York Times piece came out about what he was going through with the town. And I finally said to myself, oh, I guess this, let me hear what you have to say. Um, and as time went on, we finally had the chance in 2020 to, I could call him every day and I wrote down everything he said. And basically I had 300 pages of very specific,
Wow.
you know, East Hampton law and, a lot of back and forth and summons. And I had it all together. And I basically spent the couple months whittling it down with Tom's blessing. And I sort of thought, okay, this seems like I can latch myself on here. At first I was like, I could make a Big Lebowski out of this, but at the end of the day, I started falling in love I just fell in love with him as a character. He was kind of like the dude to me. Um, and but then at the end of the day, he was just a good friend, and I loved that I wasn't telling a story about Carl Fisher who wanted to build a Miami of the East or Robert Moses or even like just like a luminary. I liked that it was a guy who was considered despised by the town. I was attracted to the ogre mythology of it, if that makes any sense.
It
You
does.
know, um, and he was sharp as a tack, and I was like, let's do this. Our covenant is now
Yeah.
our we shook on it. Yeah.
And it's a beautifully made film. Like I can see and feel the love that you have for him in this film. It was a really touching one. And as a fellow Long Islander, I appreciated that you're finding these stories, from your hometown, and I wasn't even as familiar with it. And I read a lot of local politics at that pocket. So what is it? And you've said that some of your other films, you've really looked at doing things with the on the East End. So what is it about the East End that is so fascinating?
Well, I mean, honestly, just it's as simple as the light. The way the light hits here, especially when you're looking at the water, there's just, you get those plum colored sunsets that just feel endless. And it's like at the end of Tree of Life, when they're in heaven,
Hmm.
and it has that feeling. I understand why people move out here to just retire and just kind of return to nature. Now, obviously, what's interesting is a lot of people that come out here to the Hamptons during the summer obviously come out for the plates, but they also come out for the glitz and glamour.
Hmm.
But when you're out here in December in Montauk or in Amagansett and the snow's coming down and you see Orion, crisp and beautiful over the Atlantic, that is just, it's stunning. And it makes you want to tell stories. It makes you want to tell visual stories, makes you want to write poems and songs. It's just inspiring to me. And I was just lucky that I have a place to, back when I was 20, I had a place where I could put my crew up. And but I always liked faking it for different parts of America. The first one I made was about that I shot in Tom's backyard and the front of Clam Bar in Napeague. I faked it for Alabama. And then I made my senior thesis. We shot at Bayburger on the Bridgehampton Sag Harbor Turnpike. It's like an American graffiti type, you know, uh, fast food joint in the middle of Arkansas. And, obviously the cover of Night made it so that it was easier to hide some of the more Long Island uh, site specific things. But, you know, you're also, when you film out here, especially when it's cold, you feel like it's a cocoon, and
Yeah.
there's a kind of a presence that kind of settles in with you and the team. And I've seen it each time I film out here that it just kind of it pushes the noise away,
Hmm.
and it makes for a shooting a much more mystical and loving experience. And it feels like home. So I don't know. I have no desire to film anywhere. I do have desire to film other places. It'd be nice to shoot in Greece or something like that. But but the next one I'm writing, in my head, I just picture it as Sag Harbor Main Street. And I may not set it there, but like for reference, when I write scenes, I'm like, well, this would take place in a spot that looks like the corner bar. So in my head, Main Street, USA, I picture it as, that iconic Main Street with the big cinema sign where we're premiering.
Hmm.
And it's really helped me as a former, truth be told, I am a city kid that was transplanted, but I have to
There.
really say that Sag Harbor, when I close my eyes, it like reminds me of like the Penny Lane by the Beatles,
Okay.
just like
Hmm.
like childhood memories and Cinema Paradiso, just good feelings and a place where I feel like I'm at home. Um, yeah, I love shooting out here. I love being out here. Yeah.
Now, briefly talk to me about this cast. And I noticed Tim Blake Nelson came on, was also as an executive producer on the film. How did he come aboard the film, and how did you gather this incredible group of performers? I mean, every performance in this was phenomenal.
Well, thanks. I know. I do know that. If anything, I know I was chill on set. I was like, I'm working with Lois Smith. I mean, she's in Five Easy Pieces with Jack. Her first movie is with James Dean, East of Eden. It's crazy. And she's incredible. She's 95 years old and she gave a powerhouse performance. I was most astounded by her grit. You know what I mean? I mean, I based her off my bubby, and she delivered some of those like Brooklyn barbs
Yep.
like a slingshot, you
Oh,
know? And but essentially what happened was I got introduced to Tim Blake Nelson by a friend, a really great guy and a great actor, Will Janowitz. And he had been making a movie called Bang Bang, which just came out. Tim plays a boxer. And I got connected to him and I was basically doing odd jobs trying to raise money for the movie. And he said, you ever thought about Tim Blake Nelson? Truth be told, I had not, because
mhm.
Tom is a big bald guy with a walrus mustache. Tim is a slight man with a big bursting full head of hair. But then but I loved him. I mean, I think I've already mentioned the Coen brothers a couple times now.
Yeah.
I, he's like, he's one of the great character actors. And, one of my favorite actors of all time is Warren Oates, uh, who's great in The Heat of the Night and in Badlands. And I just love folks like that. And I met with him, and he basically said to me, we're going to have a come to Jesus moment. You have a story about a place, but the crux of your film is about this man and his love for his girlfriend Freckles. And the real performance in this movie that people are going to notice is Freckles. So if you can tell me right here that we can commit to their love story, I will sign on as an executive producer. We can carve up the script and sharpen it so that we can get some of the best actors around. And that's just what we did. He came on. We came pretty fast friends, and I mean, I can't imagine. It's crazy to be talking about Tim in this way because he's a cherished. If I wasn't married, I'd ask him to be my best man. But um, and he went full on. He stayed with Tom. He stayed in
Wow.
Tom's hoarded house. And I
Wow.
remember picking him up, and Tim was interested from the get-go, just from the script, but
Hmm.
watching Tim, I remember the first time I got on the phone with Tom and Tim, and it was like putting your hand through the television, you know? It was like Purple Rose of Cairo. Like suddenly I was just like watching Tom talk to Tim, and they were getting to know each other, and it was a little bit like, who are you? It was beautiful. And then when Tim actually stayed with Tom, it was just one of those moments where I knew what an imprint that would make on Tim, because suddenly after that it was like we got to do this and this and this. It was it was really cool to see Tim study this character, and Tom, it was like when two dogs meet each other, they're like sniffing around, but they really took to each other. I remember Tim told me that, he woke up one morning and Tom was at the foot of his bed smoking a cigarette and was just saying, "So what do you want to do today, Tim?" Anyways, but yeah, Tim was great to work with, and the whole cast really.
Yeah.
But once we got Tim on board, the floodgates opened.
Right.
Um, it- After that, we were off to the races. And God bless him, honestly. I think what he did was beautiful, and a beautiful tribute to just a friend of mine that he recognized too, that spoke not just to our area, but it was a character that kind of speaks to every little nook and cranny of the country and maybe further than that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he helped transcend this what is a local story but makes it feel universal.
Nice. I have a couple quick more because I know I got to let you go soon, but I first want to say congratulations on your first feature-length film.
I know. Thank you very much. That feels good to hear
And
coming from.
it was an enjoyable first feature. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So
Yeah,
I love
thank
to ask this question of filmmakers when I get them because I'm an educator, so I love to make part of these interviews a little educational for any other filmmakers watching. What would
you.
you say? Now I got you scared. What would you say is the greatest lesson you learned and took from this project that you want to carry into your next one? Or the greatest hurdle you're like, you know what, next time, not going to do that.
Something I really embraced when I felt the wind at my back a couple months before shooting was obviously work hard and show up for your crew and team, but let go. Um, Films, unless you're doing a Wes Anderson type thing where the production design needs to be ever so specific, just let go. Filmmaking is a capsule, obviously, of the production, but of time. And, if Tim walks over there and I miss that, the that wonderful bag of Cheetos, which lights up the shot a little bit, if he moves past that, it's meant to be. Don't force anybody in one direction or the other. Just let it be, because it's more of a documentary than you realize. The way the actors move, and you just have to let things go. I remember there was one point where we were on the beach and a C stand snapped, and we were only able to get one take of a pretty big scene. And I remember I wanted to throw a fit, but I had learned, at least by that point, everything happens for a reason, at least on a film set. You have to let it go. And it ends up being one of my favorite scenes. You get this really gusty, emotional scene with the wind. Only got one take, but that was all we needed. And so I think what I've learned is to let the world give you the tools you need to tell the story. That was the joy of filming for me. And and then you micromanage in post anyways. So
There you have it.
yeah,
And my last question, what are you hoping people take away from the film after they watch it?
I really the thing that I wanted most out of this was to honor this guy. I'm not saying he's a saint. He had a lot of quirks, but I want people to feel that there's a lot of compassion here. And I want people to leave feeling that, not vulnerable, but feel the compassion that I tried to evoke. And maybe the rest of the night you just are in a kinder, more gentle spirit and way of looking at things, but to just really feel the humanity of two people that you don't know and that would often just be seen as someone you see at the supermarket, and maybe not even people you'd want to talk to, but to feel the humanity in them and tie it back to yourself. So I just want people to feel the heart that I certainly put into it, and feeling just a little ever so tender. Um, you know,
Love
try a
that.
little tenderness. Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, folks, On the End is coming to the Woodstock Film Festival in a couple of weeks. Check that one out or keep an eye out for when this is coming. All right, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. Best of luck with the film. It's a beautiful, touching story, and all the best.
I'll see you soon, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.